like kind of dizzy. 哇，下降了，下降了，boom boom，boom boom。哦，到了，机场到了，你看，哦。
It's tight. Being tight.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on, hold on. We landing. Look.
Sit there.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Earth. Lucky. Bien, bien. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom. Is that cool? 好了，停下了，停下了哟，进。
女士们、先生们，我们已到达厦门国际机场，请保持安全带系好，系好安全带系得系链。下机前，请您再次检查座椅周围，确认携带好所有东西。
好了。landing 了。Oh my God! Look, do you feel like kind of dizzy? 哇，下降了，下降了，boom boom. Ooh, boom boom. 哦，到了，机场到了，你看，哦。
It's tight. Being tight.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on, hold on. We landing. Look.
Sit there.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Earth. Lucky. Bien, bien. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom.
Hello, people of the internet.
Hello.
I am American McGee.
I'm Martin.
And we're
I'm Alex.
There you go. We're joined by a special guest down below there. That's Alex Crowley. We are coming to you live from Shanghai, China. Alex, where are you?
I am coming to you live from my home in Perth, Western Australia.
Perth, Western Australia. How many hours are we different? Because we're kind of on the same side of the globe, but...
Oh, and we share the exact same time zone.
See?
So you and I run in parallel.
There you go. But on different sides of the equator. You're in the land down under, and we're up here in the land up here. Which is kind of funny, because when I was a kid, my mom always told me if we dug a hole into the ground, we would end up in China. But apparently that's not where we would end up.
Might have been if you dug from Texas.
Maybe. So we are coming to you today to talk a little bit about Alice Asylum. We've got Alex, obviously, as a special guest today. He's going to walk us through some of the latest updates to art and also design Bible stuff, and we're going to talk about our planning for 2023. We are going to do this a little bit differently today, though, because one, I'm a little bit sick, and so I got to reserve my throat a bit. So I'm gonna try to format this like I'm gonna ask questions to Alex and let Alex answer those questions. And of course, those of you in the chat, as per usual, you can do the same. You pop questions into the chat and we will try to answer those. We will give away prizes today, but today's stream, we're going to try to keep it, well, we have to keep it to about an hour and a half. The reason being that I have to go pick up Lucky from school because we're going into the city, Shanghai, today to celebrate my 50th birthday. Woo! You wouldn't know it by all the wrinkles and the graying.
Day over 47.
Exactly. So anyway, this will be a little bit shorter stream today, but it is a slightly different format. We're going to try to streamline it, handle a lot of questions from you guys, and yeah, let Alex talk a bit about what he's been up to and what our plans are for next year.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Should we say hi to some people?
Yes.
Well, as usual, chat is weirdly broken, but who've we got? Patient322 is here. Craig Spurlock.
I see Wendy. And I see Looking Glass Zero. A lot of happy birthdays from everybody. Thank you for that.
Octo Greg's here.
Ghibli Girl.
Got the new ones, perhaps Vampire Chick 007.
Ooh. Ghibli Girl wants to know if I've got anything fun planned. We are going to go into the city. I live in Shanghai, the municipality, the zone, but I don't live in the city anymore. Martin lives in the city. So when I say we're going to go into the city, we have to drive an hour to get into the city. And I'm going to take Martin and a bunch of my other boyfriends out to a fancy dinner. And Yin is going to take Lucky around the city to go have some dinner and go swimming and stuff like that at the hotel we're staying at. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Should be.
Okay, so why don't we jump right in? We're going to do questions from Patreon first, just to get those out of the way. So Martin, take it away. What questions do you have from Patreon this week?
Well, this one jumps out straight away because Sarah Heist, thank you very much, actually marked it as question, which we always liked to happen. What's the next steps after you get the Design Bible finished? Are we in a game of hurry up and wait?
I saw that comment. Alex, do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I can actually. I think from a certain standpoint in working in this project, there is a certain degree of hurry up and wait because we can operate quite fast and we can shift our focus, wherever we want it to go. But we're kind of spiraling in this orbit at the moment where there's things like the game development and other areas that are kind of largely out of our control. But we are just kind of focusing on finishing up the Design Bible to launch. And then from there, we're involved in a couple of discussions with a potential development partner, which will shape up what happens next year and kind of what we've got coming up, which is quite exciting. So do you have anything more to add to that, American?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons, I think a lot of you know I don't normally wear button-up shirts to our live streams. I'm wearing a button-up shirt today because as soon as we finish this live stream, we're going to the city and we're going to do a meeting with the developer that we're working with to put together the plan for getting the game made. By attaching that developer, which is very big and very well known, to the planning, it will say to somebody who would want to finance this thing that we've got the complete plan and we've got the complete team, everything together, right? So today is another follow-up meeting with that team, a face-to-face. Alex will also join via Zoom. And we're hoping that that's going to put in place the final piece needed for the budget and the schedule. Plus, Alex and team will finish up the Design Bible by the end of this month. And then that puts us in a position starting... I don't think it's going to be January because January is Chinese New Year and the whole all of China just takes the month off. But I'd say that come February, we'll be hitting the ground running to take out this package and pitch it to potential financiers. And so that we're probably looking at the first 6 months of 2023 revolving entirely around seeking out potential investors. Now, I have a list of some already, but as this process develops, more and more will be added to it. And we'll be refining the pitch as we get feedback from the people who we pitch it to initially, right? So that's probably what the first 6 months of next year are looking like. Now, best case scenario, early on, someone picks it up. I like to joke that as much as we aren't very friendly, some of our fans aren't very friendly towards EA. One of the things that could happen quite quickly is that EA could look at this and be like, why the hell do we want to let someone else pick this up? This looks great. We'll pick this up, right? So let's see, but yeah, hurry up and wait. I'm not sure it's hurry up and wait. We are on schedule and we have a pretty clear vision for the next steps that'll take place over the coming months. And we hope that all of you will join us for that.
Right.
Exactly.
There you go, Sarah Heist. Big answer.
Looking Glass Zero says, do you want EA to be involved at all? Look, my mom used to say this phrase that sticks with me to this day, and I now say to my child, which is beggars can't be choosers. So, we really are in the position of beggars here. And I get a lot of frustration from fans online. They write comments and they're directed towards me and they're like, why don't you hurry the F up? And it's funny because legally, and in terms of my legal connection to the Alice franchise, I am just like you guys. I'm just a huge fan. Even though I'm the creator, but I have no more pull or push or whatever than what we're doing and trying to put together a package to pitch this thing. So back to the question, do we want EA to be involved at all? Look, if we can get it funded, and EA is capable. You saw with the recent Star Wars single player game, and also they're working on a new Dead Space single player game. Those are purely narrative driven single player games. They don't claim they don't have loot box stuff, and they don't have any of that microtransaction stuff in there. So EA as a corporation is capable of producing these types of games. So yeah, sure, if they're willing to give us the which was the not Old Republic, Star Wars,
the recent-ish one.
Yeah, that was
Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order. If they're willing to give us that treatment or the new Dead Space treatment, then sure, why not? Those are shaping up to be. I mean, Fallen Order was a good game, and Dead Space looks like it's shaping up to be a good game.
Hope so. Looking forward to that.
Good question.
Yeah. When these were printed out, there wasn't very many comments, but I did see one on the post, a big one from Nico Rose. Was there a question there? I think there was. When Alice goes into Wonderland, does she just pass out and lay around in reality? Or does she physically move and see things in her real world, like delusions?
It's a good question, Nico, but I've tried to avoid answering this because it gets a little bit too behind the scenes. And but if you look at the way that Madness Returns plays out, there is a sort of there's a style and ambient connection between where she goes in Wonderland and where she is in London, right? And we did that on purpose to kind of hint that there are things in the environment in the real world that trigger what it is that happens inside of Wonderland. And that was really kind of one of the underpinnings of what you saw happening with her travels through Wonderland in Madness Returns. So yeah, I mean, I don't really want to answer that question because it could be silly. Maybe she is kind of just passed out in a corner somewhere while
drooling.
But I mean, I'd say from a technical standpoint, I do believe that when her consciousness is in Wonderland, it is not also at the same time active in the real world. So that does mean that she needs to be sat around somewhere drooling or whatever, right? But I don't think it's a very fun question, although I understand it from a technical standpoint. You're curious to know, like, where does she end up? But I'd rather just leave it alone.
Leave it alone, Nico. Just leave it.
Good answer.
Don't try and peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, sometimes it's not fun to tear your fictions apart like that.
Yeah,
all right. What else we got here? We're actually moving on to the next post now. But wasn't a lot of questions. I'm struggling to pluck a question out from the comments since we did last stream here.
That's fine.
While I'm looking, I did see a question scroll by. They were saying, are we ever going to do that rabbit onesie we talked about?
Yeah, we should. Just life at Mysterious is really busy, So which post? Is it this one? Last like? Okay. We have so much stuff we're trying to make. If you go over and look at my Instagram, you'll see, like, yesterday Yin threw this headband design at me, and this went crazy. Like, people love this idea. We just don't have a lot of bandwidth because Mysterious is literally just myself and Yin and Jen on design and Martin on support, and then we have one person that works in our warehouse, and that's kind of it. We do have some freelance artists who also help with stuff, but in terms of the day-to-day interfacing with our factories and things, our bandwidth is very limited. So, like, trying to do the onesie, sometimes it's not easy to find the time, so this was a very cool piece of art from Joey.
Yeah. I did find a question. Found one. Aesthetic Stoner asks, where do you get inspiration from for these fantasy-like worldscapes? The dialogue between characters is so mystical and I love reading through it. What other games, books, movies do you get your inspiration from? Love from Canada.
Alex, let's hear your answer to that.
Look, that's one that I would have a little bit of insight on with the writing for Alice Asylum, is I drew a lot of inspiration from the previous two games. Like, I think, like, kind of coming on fresh, like, that was, I kind of grew up loving the series as a fan. and then to kind of write it with American for Alice Asylum, I just think that there was such a rich world to kind of pull from. But more so for inspiration or a direction when we were writing, I thought the best place and the strongest place for writing Alice was coming at it from an emotional standpoint, or a position that other people might relate to in their own experiences. So we kind of had that blend of, you know, fantasy and wonder and really trippy things. But I think Alice is always at her best when you bring it back to like an emotional standpoint. So I think that was a good inspiration when I was writing it. Any thoughts on that, American?
No, it's a good answer, and I'm not going to answer that. Where do I get my inspiration from? Because I've done it a million billion times. So yeah. I did see somebody say, what are your most challenging issues when developing or designing your games? I would say that it's people. I've always given that answer. Like that famous philosopher said, or writer, I can't remember, but hell is other people. That is absolutely true. Convincing other people to, you know, let us go forward with the designs and the dreams that we have. I mean, that's the bigger challenge in all of this stuff. And also the dynamics within teams, as small and as tight as they may be, you oftentimes find that you spend a lot of energy just trying to help manage and massage the relationships that people have with one another. So develop your people skills. All right.
Definitely.
Let's jump into art review.
Cool.
We are looking now, Alex, at image number. We're going to start with number 1.
Yay!
How about that? Yeah, this was that. Really good. This was that series of facial expressions that Joey did, and man, I tell you, the response that we got, especially out of the one where she's the playful one where she's got her tongue stuck out, across Instagram and Twitter was just huge.
The Instagram really did blow up, didn't it?
It's got 7,300 likes, which is a large number for us.
It is. They're usually 1,000-ish, 1,500 sometimes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this. What was your direction to Joey? What is this going to be used for in the Design Bible?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to elaborate on that. I think when we put these in, it was really coming from the angle of, when you open up the Design Bible, we want to see Alice coming to life. And I think, like, in the mediums that we can communicate this is really through, you know, the beautiful artwork of our team. And I originally just set a couple of facial expressions for Alice, and Joey's gone through and done this wide array, which I think is just wonderful. And right now, the purpose was really just to breathe more life into Alice and to give more reference for her as a character. But Omri and I are discussing at the moment kind of stylizing this artwork to more kind of match the style of the cutscenes in Magnus Returns, with like those paper cutouts. And we're going to make the call together as to whether or not in Alice's dialogue throughout the Design Bible, we might choose a particular facial expression that best captures that particular snippet of dialogue. Because right now in the design, she's kind of just got like a neutral facial expression. And then if that looks good, Omri's probably going to have time and space to go through and do a pass on the rest of the cast. Not with multiple facial expressions. I think we'll limit that to just Alice at this point. But yeah, just something that we're exploring, and I think something that will add value to Alice as a character.
Oh, I mentioned to you, I think yesterday we had a team call. I was saying I think it would be really great if we did like an emoji pack. And
That's
released that with some GIFs, whatever you want to call it, of these things. Because man, I would love to be able to respond to messages on my phone with this face. You know, that would be just great. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you mean we're out of toilet paper on the 3rd floor and there's nobody else in the house? What the? Yeah, exactly.
Sums it up perfectly. Yep. Yeah, cool. And I think that's definitely doable. So we've kind of put a pin in that. And I think if we come to it and we release a little emoji pack, stay tuned, everyone.
All right.
There's a high chance it'll happen.
Ooh.
Next one is image number 2. This is, I believe this is art from Omri. It was to give some sort of new updated poses for her. And she's got the blue dress on, but there's a distinct lack of blood. But I know why there's no
true.
blood. But anyway, yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about this? She's wearing the chaos necklace.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
no, it is cool. For me, the intent of kind of putting these in the workflow was kind of twofold. There's a high chance we might use these for promotional images later down the track, but also this is for the opening chapter, again showcasing Alice and the player avatar. And these poses are actually all inspired by classic poses from, I think the one on the left is inspired from when Alice floats down into the Vale of Tears in Madness Returns. The second one in the middle, I think, is kind of referencing the opening shot where she's kind of in that pose in the loading menus. And I believe the one on the right is reference from previous box art as well. And I think that these are kind of just little throwbacks that we want to kind of make these connections for you, but presenting them in the right medium and the new medium for Asylum in
Right.
Omri's beautiful art style. So yeah, it's just more breathing life into Alice at this stage for what these are used for.
So
But I
while
know continue. Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Omri's working on one on the left. I think he's going to be refining that with a background pass as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he puts in for that one.
Yeah, so while we're looking at these, I will say that one of the things that sticks out to me when we're doing Alice art is that a lot of times it seems the team or we kind of forget that she's supposed to be a lot younger, the character that we play in the game, because these characters still remind me very much of the character from, you know, what we've seen in the first and the second game. And of course in those she's, you know, 18 plus years old. Now, the character that you play in Asylum is, what did we say, 12? 13?
13.
Yeah.
13.
So do you think that this is in line with what she's supposed to look like at 13, or do you feel like this is still a little too grown up?
Look, it's a hard question, and I think that kind of more falls into, like, do we finesse the art direction to the level to get that consistent? But I would say the one on the left, and in the middle more so, but the pose on the right, I think the seriousness and kind of the tone of it maybe less so. And also the proportions, like, of the blade and stuff, it's a little hard to get.
Yeah.
But you know, and look, Omri does beautiful work, and I think we've always kind of come at it from the approach in the conceptual phase that I would rather the guys continue on pumping out their artwork and get it done, and we place it in there and move on, rather than kind of cause the frustration of revisiting artwork at this point. But if we come to a phase that we have a lot more breathing room and we can boil down on these design specifics and keep it consistent, then of course there's room for it. But yeah, I think
for sure we've got to keep the process moving forward. Yeah,
a couple of people have spotted that is indeed the glass blade.
It is.
By seeing the apron through it.
Yeah,
it's a nice little catch there.
Well, there's a couple of little markers in here that make it clear that this is the younger character. That's why I was going to bring this up. One, the fact that there's no blood on the dress. This is one indicator that this is young Alice. Now, if you've gone through the story of Alice Asylum, which you can read in the Design Bible, and there's also a narrative script you can download, you will learn some things which are kind of spoilery. Where's the button? There it is. Yeah, so you'll learn that the character that you're playing now is the child Alice that has been locked away inside of Alice's psychology since you first met Alice. She's basically like the girl that you saw fall out the window into the snow in the first game. That's who's been locked away in this mental prison, and the girl that you've been playing through the games as, that's literally Alice's shadow self. So you the player, people who've played Alice 1 and 2, you've only ever known the outward projection of this shadow self that has protected the child who's locked inside. You know, recently we started doing, it's funny that this comes up because I realized only recently how much this lines up with one of these toys that we're doing. This is the DID rabbit. Oh, we can get rid of the spoiler. Where's that button? There we go. So this is the rabbit for dissociative identity disorder. Is that right? So like there's a TV show out there that I think kind of popularized the notion, which was Mr. Robot.
Right.
And you know, this used to be called, and I think it's politically incorrect now, so I apologize, I'm only saying this for historical context, but I think this used to be called multiple personality disorder. But the notion behind DID is that trauma in early childhood leads to a split in your personality, and so people who manifest this disorder oftentimes have one or more distinct personalities, and so they're referred to as a system. And so if you want, you can analyze what we've done with Alice Asylum as an analog to that Alice has split her personality as a function of trauma that she's experienced in her childhood, and that the entire journey of Alice Asylum is a path towards trying to reunify her personalities. And it's the question of, would she be better off with the shadow in charge or allowing the child to reemerge? So that is the story that we're dealing with. And that's why I was going to say about this character, she lacks the blood. She's carrying a distinctly different Vorpal blade. She's got a different necklace around her neck. She's younger, and that's because this is a character that you've actually never played before. And the question of the game will be, does this character prevail? Does she win out over her shadow self?
So GT Chem, Git Chem, no, the rabbit you just saw on screen is not Alice's rabbit.
No, it's not. That's just a rabbit that we're working on over at Mysterious. Because a bunch of people asked us to make that rabbit.
They did. Ooh. A lot of people write in asking us to make rabbits of a certain thing, and that is probably one of the top requests that we currently have.
It is. All right, moving on to image number 3. What's going on here, Alex? It looks like maybe some experimenting around her death sequence.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the death and respawn mechanic where, like, I'm happy to kind of elaborate on the design thought with this, because we didn't want to get into like graphic death scenes or really kind of gore. So the idea that even though you see kind of Alice impaled here, is it's just the direction that I gave was that we see a hint of whatever type of death Alice might be inflicted, like whether or not it's like being knocked off a ledge or getting stabbed or anything like that. And it's more kind of hinted in a few frames of animation. The clouds of butterflies erupt, and as the cloud kind of disperses or starts to spread, we have red tentacles that will encase and cocoon Alice. And then she kind of respawns back again just as these red tentacles kind of dissipate. And I mean, I don't know if we want to kind of get into too much spoilery territory here, because I think that this is a point that's probably best communicated reading the design Bible and the story. But it's something that's intended to kind of be hidden a little bit in plain sight to add some story value a little later down the track. So hopefully there might be a little aha moment as we go, considering the deaths.
Yep. Good stuff. That is cool. One of the hallmarks of these games is that we spend a lot of time building all kinds of obscure internal references across the art and the story and the characters. And that's why I think people, even now, 10 years on, people make these incredibly intricate YouTube videos dissecting, the Alice games. And it's because we spent a lot of time building all these Easter eggs into it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Definitely.
People obviously
love
the more you look.
Yeah, the more you look, the more you see. And I think, like, from a core game design perspective, is it's based on rewarding curiosity. So yeah, we try and tie that in wherever we can.
Yep.
And
cool. So we're looking at page 4 now. This is an overview of Alice as a character. It's got some more of that great artwork from Omri, but it's also got sketches from Norman, showing lots of move and actions for Alice. And these are just gorgeous. I love to see him do this. I think a lot of people may know, may not know, that Norm was the guy who established the look of Alice and the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter and the Caterpillar. Like, when you go back and you look at the original Alice game, those incredibly evocative and unique designs, they all came from Norm's hand. And so we're really lucky that he's still with us and that he's still producing artwork. And yeah, this is a bunch of really cool stuff he made. So what's going on here, Alex?
Look, just touching on Norm, he's wonderful. He's so good to work with, and he's so good at capturing, you know, Alice's like real essence in here. Like it's kind of like a playful, yeah, just style here. And the idea again is we really early on in the project we did a ton of work, big list that I created of like these are potential actions or animation states for Alice, and this is Norm's work visualizing them as like double jumps. You know, idle animations is another one. Opening doors, like how she sways and hums a little tune in the bottom left there, and also we've got her patting the Cheshire Cat there. So it's just in as much as we can with our current team and presenting it in the design Bible, it is bringing Alice to life. And I like when I see these, I get like a little hit of dopamine. Like I think it's just really cool, and you can just kind of see them in a game engine or being brought to life. But for now, they live in the design Bible, and there's tons of these. Like I think I've literally got maybe 15% of them on that page. Norm's done a lot of work with that. So in the design Bible, there'll be lots of it.
He did a lot of work like this when we were doing the first Alice game as well. The one issue was that back then he used to do all of his sketches on paper, literally on paper. I mean, when we saw the first ever Alice sketch from him, it was something that was faxed to us back when faxing things. Back when faxing things was a thing, right? And so yeah, you know, that is kind of sad that a lot of that paper got lost. So a lot of the original Alice sketches got lost. It's great that we're getting him to do some of this stuff again, because this can be stuff for the archives, you know.
Oh, exactly.
Lovely Luna has a question, if I can.
Of course.
Will this game be just as gory and bloody, since she didn't have blood on the dress then, or will it be more innocent as she is younger?
Yeah, so I pulled up one image as an answer to this. This is from my Instagram. There's a bunch of images like this over there. This game is, without question, going to be full of horror. And there's some pretty freaking horrific stuff that goes on, and that, you know, Alice is witness to, and Alice also does. We are not, you know, pulling back on the gore and the horror. It's just that, you know, you haven't really seen a lot of it in the images we're looking at today, but trust me, there's plenty of it.
All right. Arthur Zero makes a good point that we are at the half-an-hour mark. So we should do a prize giveaway doodad, and they did suggest a question, which I was actually pondering whether we should do this as a question.
Which is your favorite?
Which is your favorite Alice expression?
All right, well, let's go to let's go here. So yeah, that's going to be our question. Now we're going to give away a prize to, you know, a couple prizes today. We're going to do the thing where you answer that question. That's how Nightbot sees that you exist, so you can be selected. And then we're going to give away your choice of a plushie Dreadful. The limits are, don't choose any of the like super expensive gift setty ones. Choose like the normal ones. And then also, no point in choosing ones that are not yet in the shop, though I suppose you could do, but you might be waiting for a long time.
And you can't have any of the ones that are up for auction either.
Oh yeah, not the auction ones. We do have some that are up for auction right now.
All right then, yeah, let's have a look at those expressions.
Like a lot of angry,
American
laughing.
McGee.
Oh, sorry. Art review. There we go. Mine, I think that the blipping one where she's got the tongue out is very funny and cute, but I like the furrowed brow. I like angry.
Yeah. The tongue out is nice. It kind of reminds, like, the eyes a very kind of Alita Battle Angel.
A lot of people said that.
But I like laughing. I don't know why. She kind of looks a little sinister. Like she's like it's evil laughing. I don't know. I quite like that one. What about you, Alex?
For me, like it's either a toss up between just smiling and calm or happy, because I think like in Asylum, I think it might be the first time that we really see her, you know, at peace at some point and happy as well, which I think is valuable. So it always kind of tickles me a little bit whenever I just get to see that. It's cool. That or rage. I just think that's awesome. So
I think a lot of people share that sentiment, that it's nice to finally see her happy. And that will be the outcome of this game. That at the very end of the game, you will see her happy. So that's good.
It seems pretty split with what people are saying, but a lot of people are also mentioning it's nice to see her happy.
Exactly.
So they're choosing that.
All right. Well, let's roll it here, and it is 22 hours a day. Congratulations. Martin, you take it away so I can conserve my voice.
Okay, head on over to mysterious.americanmcgee.com to the Plushy Dreadful section. Choose one based on what we said earlier. None of the sets, please. Just like the normal $45 ones that are available. Write into support@mysterious.design with your name, address, phone number, and choice. Format all that in a very pleasant way, as if you were writing it on an envelope. Don't make me angry. And we'll send you your thing out 22 hours a day. Congratulations for winning.
There you go. All right.
Well done.
Back to art review. So we've got here, I know this is a bunch of art by Adam Narowski, and I know that this was sort of him doing exploration of various environments, and it looks like some of this, there's a little bit of Asian stuff going on in there. So is she making a return to the mystical East? And I also see that there are some just very nice British countryside. Does this remind you of home, Martin?
This is exactly where we all go to eat our cucumber sandwiches.
Did you used to live under this bridge here, Martin?
Very similar one, yes.
Yeah. There's Martin's house under the bridge there. Okay. Yeah, what's going on here, Alex?
Yeah, happy to elaborate. The one on the left is explorations, well, spoilers, plot twist. I don't know how much everybody knows about this, but this is endgame content, both of these images. And the one on the left is Alice exploring Radcliffe's other land, so kind of going into his mind, and we get to kind of see, obviously it's kind of driven by wealth and lore, and I think there's some throwbacks there with the Eastern influence from what was shown in Madness Returns, so Adam's echoing that there. And on the right, those are pretty much brand new. I think those came in within a day or two ago of Adam exploring, more, again, spoilers, endgame content, the Liddell's Home for Wayward Children, which is the orphanage and school that she opens up at the end of the game. So these are very much spoilery territory, but beautiful work. Like I think like what he's done here really captures that, and we're just kind of focusing more on those external level design and concepts in this pass. And I think he'll be refining this one a little bit more. You can kind of see it's still a little bit 3D and blocky, but I think he's this was just the initial pass, and we'll see a polished one next up.
Well, I'm looking forward to, because this is the Home for Wayward Children in the distance here. Yeah, I mean, I know he's working on the one where the lawn splits open and the jet comes out, and then Alice takes the orphans and they go out and blow up people who hurt children with the flying steampunk jet. Is that right? That's the ending of the game, isn't it?
That's exactly right. That's
yes.
exactly right.
Cool.
Yeah. And
awesome.
Yeah. Alex shaves her head and rolls out in a
wheelchair.
So that's it.
You know, people are just going to be so shocked when they realize that all along Dr. X was actually Alice in Wonderland.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun. You know, he was she was the original explorer of other people's psyches. Duh. I mean, what did you expect was going to be the ending of the game? Okay, we'll turn off the spoilers thing now. How many people do you think are going to think that's serious, and they're going to write in and they're going to be like, what, I heard it was, this actually ties into the X-Men.
What a twist.
Oh boy. So speaking of the Home for Wayward Children with the X-Jet under the lawn, this looks like a logo for that place.
Oh yeah, that's just a plaque or an emblem. I worked on that recently just to kind of work that into Adam's workflow if he wanted to kind of start blending that into, like, I don't know, like gates or maybe little plaques that are kind of on the fountain or anything like that. But it just appears in the design Bible, so that's a pretty short and sweet one there, I think.
Did you make this one?
I did. Yes, I did.
What did you make this in?
Illustrator, actually. It's a
Okay.
vector.
So it is a
but
vector.
It is, but with a 3D effect applied
Well,
to it.
you got to send the vector file to me, and then I can see if I can cut it on our handy dandy CNC machine here.
Done.
Because yeah, I could actually make that as a plaque. That'd be kind of cool.
Look good.
That would look cool.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Awesome.
All right, moving on. These look like. I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say they. Never mind. So anyway, they look like weapons. I think we've seen some of these before. The teapots and look, anything's a sex toy if you try hard enough. That's the badump bump of the joke I was gonna make. So these look like croquet mallets and balls and pepper grinders. So what's going on here? We've seen these before. Why are we seeing them again?
These are reskins actually by Adam. Adam's gone through and we're kind of using original artwork in Asylum, obviously inspired by what's come before. But these are the initial passes for the base level skins, and I think something that's on our radar is different variants that kind of tie in with upgrades, or just different aesthetics, because I think that we have discussed giving people a level of customization in Alice's appearance and the weapons that she uses. So this is just the starting point. But I do love the teapot. I think he's done an excellent job on that. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
There's a good teapot.
Our friend Tom Resnick is in the chat. He cautioned you about the font that you use on this sign, because he says that it's possible that this font did not exist at the time, and so you may want to do some historical font research.
Well, the L is 100% custom. So I
yeah,
did
but
make
you
that
didn't
myself.
exist at that time.
Oh, but I did.
Oh, you traveled back.
Time travel. No, look, that's something. Sure, we can go through and use maybe a bit more of a black letter, but again, from the notion of conceptual stuff, we'll
Tom,
with time.
Yeah, so Tom, one of the things that happens is that a lot of times concept art isn't 100% on, but usually when we go through the phase of tasking out the production of the 3D asset, that is the point at which a full review is done to make sure of all kinds of things, including triangle count and quality. Does it have two sides or not? Like that sign doesn't necessarily need to have a backside because you won't see it. Does it animate? And then one of the other things that we would always check when we were doing Madness Returns was, is it historically accurate? Could this thing exist? So yeah, it's a good point, but we normally check that kind of stuff right before we greenlight the 3D production of the thing.
Yeah, and I actually don't think it is Times New Roman. I think it was what's probably just an Adobe Garamond font anyway. But that's cool. Good catch. We'll look into it if ever we come down to that stage that we need to create a proper 3D asset. That's cool.
Change it to Papyrus. Just call it a day.
Comic Sans. I think Comic Sans was the original font. That's what the cavemen came up with.
Yeah,
they were like, sure, people of the future will hate this.
Yeah, yeah. As a graphic designer, Comic Sans commands a very large amount of weight and sway in the scene. Ugh, gross. Anyway.
So back to somebody had asked the question of whether or not there was going to be gore and there was going to be any horror in Alice Asylum. Here's a weapon design based on basically a chainsaw, which before anybody says anything, yes, we all agree there. And actually, didn't we look this up? I think we actually looked this up one day. When was the first chainsaw invented? And we were surprised that it was quite a long time ago.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, while I look that up, you tell people what's going on here.
This slide is really, and it follows on to the next one as well, as the process of weapon design. I thought this was a really good catch, where from the left, we've got the initial sketches as to how it can work. Then on the right, we've kind of got the mechanics and how it can operate, all kind of with a room to flex. There's also some icons on the bottom left for the attacks. And then on the next slide, you'll see how it looks and translate into the design Bible, where we've got the render work done by Adam. And then on the right is a kind of a snippet of how the weapons will look in the design Bible with all of the mechanics and the outlines. And the things that are kind of left remaining, which is on my workflow to do at the moment, is I want to kind of showcase a bit of a firing range, as if you're kind of viewing it from over Alice's shoulder in gameplay, kind of a 3D corridor, kind of going down, and we can kind of visualize how the attacks look in a snapshot or using infographics and illustration. And I think from all of that information, you get a really kind of solid catch as to the attack mechanics and how these things could translate in game.
Yep. Awesome. Looks really good.
Cool.
It does.
Awesome.
Back to the question of the first chainsaw. Turns out it would be contemporaneous to our game. So
1830. I wouldn't have said that.
And it was a medical device used to cut bones and apparently used for cesarean sections. Can you imagine? Like, the baby's coming. Go get the chainsaw. That's not good.
When did it start getting used on trees? Click that thing there.
1926.
A little bit later.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, that's why they're called Stihl. That's the brand Stihl. We all know that brand. Well, if you know tools, you do. So, wow, and the first chainsaw was an electric chainsaw. Go figure.
The world has come full circle.
It really has. It's pretty crazy. All right, so going on here, we've got another slide, and this is, again, back to the question of, is there going to be horror in the game? So page 10 here, this is tentacle, face, vagina teeth woman, and
it's exactly right. It's exactly what I put in the brief.
And yeah, this is looking pretty scary. So what's going on here?
This was actually a scene which is intentionally high horror, jump scare intent, and we got Joey to do out some initial layout work to kind of capture the artwork in the story. But when we were kind of doing the layout, I kind of went back and with the lens of, I think this could be a lot scarier. So the direction was more creating the monster and the pursuer, because Alice is kind of ambushed in this scene, trying to run away, and she actually gets caught. So she succumbs to this, but it's kind of like a jump cut, and she'll be back in the game hyperventilating. And oh my god, there's some crazy stuff going on here, and it's beautiful work by Joey. So you can see the concept sketch on the left, the final art in the middle, and then more of a little capture of how it could look while Alice is being pursued to communicate the gameplay. And I think on the next slide, you'll see the design Bible layout, where it has, all of the kind of scenes in sequence, as well as the narrative and some polish in there. So it's more just kind of using the opportunity to
horror. Horror.
Exactly.
That's the name of my metal band.
Yes,
it is. Oh,
Screams of horror.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, Joey has done some really good horror scenes since we started. Yeah, I really love some of this art.
Yeah, I love the spectrum that Joey works on, where it can be really beautiful and serene and gorgeous, and then it can be like absolutely metal and like really dark and horror like this. Always cool to run up and down those two spectrums, I'd say, with the art.
But yeah, I think, the question about will the game contain horror, I've had a couple of conversations this year talking to people about the therapeutic effect of horror, and this idea that, horror allows us to simulate going through experiences that we'd probably rather not experience in reality, but it exercises the muscles that you use in response to an encounter with chaos. And I think that when it comes to difficult stories that deal with the psychological horrors that this character has really dealt with, it's important that, in a sense, you make the player pay the price of admission to walk hand in hand with Alice as she unravels all this stuff, right? I mean, I think that that's one of the things that you end up connecting with her on a personal level, because the both of you can enjoy that experience together of the terror of going through all this. And of course, coming out the back of that, hopefully the player feels somewhat transformed, and of course you join in Alice's transformation as well. I think that's one of the really interesting things about horror and watching horror movies with your friends, is that there's a kind of bonding, transformative effect that happens with them that's different from other genres of film and games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Would you mind if I elaborated on that a little bit with Asylum, just for
go for
quick
it.
bit? I was just going to say, like, with the overall approach, I think when we were writing Asylum, like the first, like, I kind of likened it to like a wound being inflicted, where like the first game was like having a cut inflicted and you bleed. And the second game, Madness Returns, is likened to like it festers and the wound rots. And in Asylum, I think we've kind of framed it that it's the result of that festering wound, which is, do you succumb to it or do you survive? And I think like by kind of framing the game in and Alice's journey in that way, those are the things that we explore, where Alice really does succumb at points in this game, but overall, regardless of how dark it gets, she can survive.
Sure.
And I think that that's probably a good message and a good catch to kind of put across.
For sure. Somebody asked in the chat, why tentacles? And I suppose that's one I would have to answer. But when one of the things is that with plumbing the depths of Alice's psychology. So in a sense, you can imagine that as analogous to going to the depths of the sea, which of course is where you would find the Kraken and you would find all kinds of tentacly, octopusy kind of horrible stuff, right? And then if you watch a lot of horror movies, you'll see that, a lot of body horror involves snaky type of things, tentacles and whatnot invading our bodies. So there's this kind of orifice invasion horror that comes with tentacles. And then there's also this notion of it wrapping around and, removing control from you. So again, you watch modern movies, whether they be Marvel action movies or you watch horror movies, there's a lot of things that tentacles do that align with a lot of the fears that we have about having control taken away from us, or, slimy, dark things from the deep, or, about the bodily invasion aspect of them. So they just work in that sense. And of course, Alice has to draw on what her life experience would be. So she wouldn't know, like, space alien tentacles, and she wouldn't know mechanical tentacles. She's going to know octopus tentacles. And so that's where her imagination conjures that up.
All right. There you go. Spal now. Question answered.
All right, so moving on to page 12. This is about Hatter's Workshop, and it seems that it has quite a bit of information here. It says something about a conceptual hub layout. So I know that Hatter's domain is very key and central to her adventure. What's going on here?
This was work between Gareth Keenan and myself, one of our concept artists, and I think you'll see there's some little Hatter explorations there done by Norm, which kind of dotted about. But the idea here is communicating the hub world, where in being a linear game, we're always kind of pushing Alice forward into new areas and new directions. But there is a point where, we do have a central hub for navigation and also story-wise, where Alice will return to Hatter's Workshop. And this kind of lays out the ideas that we had for using Hatter as an upgrade and XP kind of cash-in point. Also, we've got Cheshire Cat always available. So the characters are front and center, so you can kind of live out that kind of role play of being in Alice's world. To the left, we also have kind of like a training room or a area that you can explore new abilities or weapons, like a firing range, to master the mechanics or just play around with scenarios. We also have a hall of doors down the bottom, which we're using as fast travel for certain areas through the game. But for me, having it there physically in the game kind of more blends into that fantasy and exploration of making Alice's world full. But in UI and UX, I wouldn't have the player kind of funneled into one particular door. We'd probably have the ability to fast travel through menus or maps as well. But if you do want to kind of do it old school style and wander through worlds through particular doors, then we're giving you that option as well. There's also a hidden bit on the right hand side, which is a potential area for gallery, boss rush, secret content, DLC, if we get to that stage as well. So the hub is always accessible, and I think it'll be its own little world unto itself in the greater scope of the game. So I hope that answers that question in detail.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we went back and forth quite a bit on this, trying to kind of map out that, yeah, it's a linear narrative progression, but we also recognize that there's the necessity to return frequently for updates from sort of your boss, right? Which in this case, it's the Hatter who's trying to help you to escape from the prison that you're locked inside of, and get upgrades to your weapons and all this kind of fun stuff. So yeah, we eventually settled on this, and we still have the Hall of Doors mechanic as well, that she uses to travel around. So yeah, some pretty good stuff around this mechanic. It'll be interesting to see how this gets built out in game.
I think it all just comes back to accessibility. That's been really core in how we want this experience, so that, yeah, it's just seamless, easy, and you have options as to how you want to play. So that's where we always bring the design discussion back to in stuff like this.
Yep.
Cool.
So, somebody asked if there's going to be multiple endings. The answer is no. Somebody else already knows that there won't be multiple endings. Yep. So, nope. All right, moving on to page 13. We've got Alice with the third eye, and we've got some Boojums and a scene where Alice has killed the queen, and the knave is hanging out there with her. A couple of iconic moments here. So what's the story here?
Look, all I wanted to do was do a catch of Gareth's work here as well. Like, this is a lot of stuff that he's kind of been chipping away on and filling in, you know, key story beats and blanks in the design Bible. And I just thought it was cool just to see his work, where on the left you've kind of got the, what is it? The navigation third eye mechanic that we introduced, which is also another horror beat that kind of comes out of nowhere. There's a part in the Vale of Tears where Alice is riding on Mock Turtle Shell, which is a little bit of a throwback to the first game. Yeah, scenes with Alice defeating the first pass of the Queen. Spoilers, or you can probably get the catch of that reading the design Bible. And I think it's valuable in building a new game that we always touch on the design of the past, so we can build on things that are familiar, but then take it in new directions. And I think having returning characters from the first game is a good fit for where we're wanting to take Asylum, hence Boojums. And I think he's done a wicked job on the design there.
Yeah, Gareth has done incredible art for us. If you've been following along with what we've been doing over on Patreon, there was a phase there where we had a couple of our artists working on design and story for Oz Adventures, and Gareth was producing a lot of art for that, and it was just absolutely fantastic stuff. But we realized, I think you brought up that, in order to get the design Bible done by the end of this year, the end of 2022, we were going to need to put all resources towards getting these assets done. So we shifted Gareth over, and it's been fantastic. I've been really happy to see the work that he's doing, and I know he's having a lot of fun.
No, we work really well together. He's a good dude.
Yeah, it's good. All right, cool. So and I think actually that's probably, we'll just take 1 second and mention, going into next year, we will keep this team in 2023. How many people have we got? We've got you, Joey, Omri, Gareth, Norm, am I missing? And Adam in Poland. So we've got six artists that are supported by Patreon. And that's where you're seeing all this art come to life. If it were not for Patreon, this would not be possible. The giant design Bible. We haven't even pulled up the design Bible yet. It's over here in my web browser. But for those of you that are new, the big goal here is to produce this design Bible, which is almost complete. How many pages does this have now, Alex?
We're at about, let me just double check, I can give you that. 331, and that's in 166 spreads, and that will grow before we pull the trigger and release it.
Yeah. So this is, as we've said before, basically like if you were able to condense the playing of the new game, the third game in the Alice series, if you were able to condense that down into book format, that's what this design Bible is. So you're basically able to sit here and read your way through every area, every character, every weapon, every element of design that constitutes the big picture for what Alice Asylum is intended to be. Now, I think there's some questions we wanted to talk about today. I'll just briefly touch on, but that is that going into the new year, that team is still there. Patreon is still there. We will be taking this out to pitch, but the art team headed up by Alex is going to start to do a sort of deep dive into specific design elements, things that's sort of work that has to get done once production on the game begins anyway. And so we're going to start to put the team's efforts towards a combination of that and also any sort of work that needs to be done towards adjusting the presentations that we're taking out. But that whole team is still there. The Patreon is still there, and work on design will still be going on into the start of the new year.
Yeah, I can elaborate on that a little bit more if you'd like me to.
Yeah. We have 2 minutes until the next prize giveaway.
That's fine. I'll get it done before then. I suppose, like, with the design Bible in itself, is the approach that we've always had with designing it was that it needed to satisfy 3 things, which was first off, give a scope of works to potential financiers, so people could open the book, see the quality of the work that we're doing, and get an understanding of what we're trying to make. Second was also that we operate in the public forum, like openly, and we've always wanted to share this process with the fans, and we will release this design Bible for free once it's completed in PDF form, and that means any fan of Alice, anyone can download that and read the intended experience through this medium. And from what we've heard, both of those 2 goals are really well received from people that it's sat in front of, and also we've got a lot of feedback where people love seeing this work. They're really enjoying it. The third purpose was to use the design Bible as a potential scope of works for developers. And in the discussions that we are in now with our potential development partner, from what we've heard is it's positive. And we expect that there might be some backwards and forwards or reshaping content and design-based material, depending on how they go about it. But that is where the work's going to be gearing towards next year, is working in tandem to get the work done that will help potential development, and that is boiling down on specifics. So yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting, and I know the team's psyched for it.
Awesome. Okay, it is now 11 a.m. here in Shanghai, so we are going to do... What was that?
What was that?
So we are going to do a prize giveaway. So what's the question going to be for the prizes?
Question is, we've been talking a bunch about horror today.
Yeah, that blip was we lost it. F for live stream.
Oh no.
It's right here. It says 0. We lost the live stream. So why don't we do like this? I'm going to just switch to China 2. Then we'll see what happens. And we are still recording for YouTube here, Alex. So
that's fine, man.
Mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's see if we can come back from that by switching the VPN to which we were connected. We were just about to do a prize giveaway.
We were. Had a good question.
I thought I finished.
Had an okay question.
And of course, we're going to lose all of our... we're going to lose all of our whatsies.
Nightbot. That's okay.
Actually, we don't have Glasswire up.
That's okay.
Oh, was that?
There was a little flash. Does that mean something's happening? It says starting there now. I think it may have reconnected. Maybe. Welcome to the behind the scenes fun that we do, Alex. So for those of you that are still watching over on YouTube and this recording, be sure to smash like and do other things that will travel back in time and perhaps fix this problem for us.
Claims we're back. It says live right there,
but it's not showing anything there. I just did another VPN switch.
Seattle.
There it goes. 2100, 2800. Looks like we're back. 1400. Doesn't look like it's super happy, but we're back. All right.
Just needs a little minute to... Maybe we could check.
I'm just going to try and keep the chat active. I can see the chat.
You tell them
rolling through.
We're working on it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll do.
This
I think
Seattle,
we're back.
Yeah. But the Seattle. Yeah, it looks like we're back.
Looks like we're back.
There we go. All right, we're back. Yeah, our VPN.
Okay.
Kind of.
Pause that.
Kind of pooped out there. Sorry about that.
Woof.
Okay.
All right.
We are now connected to the U.S. through Seattle. We'll see if that that fixes things or not.
We will.
All right. Now, we were just about to do prize giveaway. Do you have a question ready? Don't ask it just yet. We should wait for Nightbot to fill up a little bit.
A little fill up when they start talking.
Well, there's that too. So go ahead, ask your question.
Well, we were talking about horror, and it just reminded me that I did watch a horror movie recently. So, anyone in the chat, just spout off like any favorite horror movies you've seen this year that I may not have heard of or seen. So yeah, the one I just recently watched was called Smile. Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of Smile.
It's all right. It's not bad, but I think the only reason it's not bad is because it's 80% of It Follows. It's basically the same movie from all intents and purposes, and It Follows was great.
Cool.
So
I got a suggestion
Smile,
for you,
not bad.
Martin. Have you seen Men, the movie Men, before?
Is this a different kind of movie?
Look, no, yeah. I'd see Men. No, it is a horror movie. It's kind of like a weird kind of art house one, but it was really cool. I went in to like a little bit of a, I don't know, I think it was like an independent cinema, and I went in with like no expectations and blind, like I don't know what this was about. Pleasantly surprised. Like it is a very slow burn, but I'd recommend it if ever you get a chance. I'll send you a link afterwards, actually, if you want to check it out. It's a good one.
All right, I'll check out Men.
Do it.
Right. Speaking of slow burn, a bunch of people mentioning Midsummer that we saw. That was a
good.
slow burn.
Yeah, it was. It
But
was a weird one.
it was fine.
Yeah, I just watched because you purchased the legal DVDs and brought them to my house. I watched the Cloverfield trilogy.
All right.
Yeah, and those are pretty interesting to just kind of see the whole thing. I think I'd watched the found footage one years ago, but I completely forgot all about it. It's not that bad, and
Cloverfield Lane's pretty good.
yeah, I like of all the three of them, I thought that was the best.
But the other one, the Cloverfield Paradox, is a bit of an odd one.
It's a little bit iffy. Tom Resnick
Are we dead
says,
again?
oh,
Cheese and biscuits.
well, welcome to China. Yeah, Tom Resnick was asking, is Black Adam, does that count as a horror movie? And I found that was an absolutely terrible movie, and I would say yes, Black Adam counts as a horror movie.
Didn't see it.
If you've not seen it, I don't recommend it.
Okay, I will see it.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. It's very, very terrible.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
we're really struggling with the live stream here today.
bummer.
Yeah,
had a good run.
We'll keep it. It'll come back. It'll come back once we see that little number do its thing. It claims we're live.
Are we live?
Mm,
Says
it says-
live,
Frozen.
but yeah, that number hasn't increased any.
No. It seems pretty unhappy. I went back to
Go,
USA for China too.
Do Cologne. It's a weird one, but I find it works.
How
No,
about
Cologne.
Oh boy.
Oh, this is unrecommended. You need to go to all.
Yep.
Oh, hang on.
It's back.
Numbers have appeared.
Okay.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Wow, it's even up to 8,000K now.
16? What?
16,000. That's not good.
25? Jeez.
I think it's trying to catch up all the content that was lost just there.
Maybe.
That's not good. Okay. Well, we are back.
Well, let's
We're
roll
back.
it.
Well, you got to wait for all the people to get back into Nightbot before we roll it.
Okay.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. We're going to roll Nightbot in a second here, just waiting for everybody to get back into the chat. So, yeah. Boy, internet kind of sucks sometimes.
Did all right for a while,
What are
but
you going to do?
what are you going to do?
Yeah, we didn't mention that, but there was recently a few demonstrations on the streets of China, which made the international news. And in response, the government here actually loosened their COVID policies in a bunch of different ways. But I noticed that they also made using VPNs a little bit more difficult. So it could be related to that. Hard to say. Okay, here we go.
Roll it.
We're going to roll it 3, 2, 1. It is Virtus Draco.
Virtus Draco.
Virtus Draco. Congratulations. And does that mean Virtual Dragon?
Yes.
Okay, well, you tell Virtual Dragon that he won.
You won,
Nice.
Virtual Dragon. Pick a plushie from our website. What is it again? mysterious.americanmcgee.com. One of the normal one, please. The $45 ones, not the combos or anything. Grr. Send an email to support@mysterious.design with your name, address, and phone number, and your choice of plushie, and we'll send it out to you. Please do that within 24 hours, or we might be mean and not send you anything.
There you go. Okay, let's quickly get back to art review because, as I mentioned before, I need to stop today at 11:30, and that's about 20 minutes from now. So let's move on.
Go, go, go.
We're looking at image number 14, and this is her in her Hysteria dress and also her in her circus dress. What's going on here, Alex?
I'd say this is just a good catch of all of the elements kind of coming together with artwork, design, mechanics, and how we present it in the design Bible. So this is just showcasing those attacks and those modes. I think the next page that you'll find as well is the Inferno mode as well. And yeah, that's just a good catch of how the progress is coming along in the design Bible, I'd say, concerning the gameplay.
So this page is Big Top. It's just her appearance. She's got herself a knife there and her dress. And so this is also showing like what weapons she would have at this point in the game.
I'd say the approach is like we've styled these as if they're like a pause screen or an inventory screen, little catch between chapters, so that when you're reading the narrative, the kind of key game design information doesn't break your flow.
Right.
So we kind of switch between narrative and then game design between chapters.
Very cool. So talk a little bit about Inferno, because I know this is somewhat new to, well, to everything, right? So I know you guys have been working on a couple of new weapon attacks and also kind of a new style of gameplay. This is a little bit more old school Doom kind of, So what's going on there?
No, exactly. Like, because we had Hysteria always positioned as a death save in Madness Returns, which is still an option in the game. But we've kind of found on the other end of the spectrum where if you played really well in Madness, you would never really see Hysteria, or it could be one of the most iconic parts of the game is hidden behind that area. So we wanted to put a super ability at the other end of the spectrum that rewards skilled play, and it's also kind of built out in a way that gives you options. So it's the first phase is a burst attack, which can be triggered once you've, say, comboed into so many enemies or build a super bar. It just rewards consistent play. And then as the bar would run down, you have a passive ability, which could be speed buffs, attack buffs, or healing. And I think that giving those options, again, coming back to accessibility, gives people incentive and choice in how they want to play. And that's where this kind of new mode was inspired by.
Cool. Very cool.
And it looks cool. It looks cool too.
Right. Okay, very awesome. So moving on, we have another page here, page 16. This is
oh my god.
Yeah, this is great. This is let's press the spoilers button, spoilers thing, because this is Shadow Alice murdering the Mad Hatter. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Who did this? What's it about? What's going on?
Yeah, of course. This comes at a pivotal point near the end game, kind of after you've unlocked everything and you're kind of getting into really the final stages. And it's at this point that Alice's wrath really becomes front and center, challenging the inner child. And this is done by Norm and Omri, with direction by both Omri and myself, for Norm to kind of do the line work. And it's just a really good catch of violence, and we wanted his death to be sudden and really quite shocking. I think literally at that point, Alice and Hatter are kind of talking about what's next, and then surprise. And yeah, it's a really good catch here by the line work by Norm and the coloring by Omri. I think it's gorgeous, really beautiful work.
Really is.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Turned out super beautiful. 17. I know this is art by Omri. This is again spoiler things. This is a reveal of the Queen was actually Alice's mom all along. Now, let's be clear that this is the queen within the snow globe, which is its own sort of special reality. But yeah, you give us a little bit of background on this.
Well, I think kind of blending into the idea of the snow globe as well as and Alice's inner child is it kind of deals with themes of repression and you know, all these things that are actually kind of gearing Alice's psyche towards helping herself. Like a theme throughout the story is that a lot of the characters that are representative of parts of Alice's mind, they're less at war with her in this game. Like they're actually trying to support or save her. And in the narrative, when we were writing this one, American, we kind of arrived at the decision that the two kind of authoritative figures, being the Queen and the Caterpillar, both two characters that kind of guide Alice on her way, we just thought it was a really good fit to have them be representative of memories of Alice's mother and father.
Sure.
It's quite a cathartic and it's a touching bit at the end where you actually get to see her reconnect with them. And they've been supporting and protecting her as a representation of trying to keep the best parts of her alive.
Well, they've also been challenging her as well.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
In essence, they've been running her through the gauntlet over and over. In an attempt to prepare her for what they know to be the inevitable challenge that's going to come at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say as well, the kind of throwback from right at the start when we saw the death animation. I'll touch on that from a design perspective, where the tentacles kind of come up and in case Allison put her back on her path. We learn that that's actually the Queen, Alice's mother, here doing that. So every time that she falls down, she's kind of picked up and put back on her way to learn the challenges that she needs to face, and she's supported by her family. Right. I think that's a good little twist that's kind of hiding in plain sight. So yeah, and Omri's done a beautiful work here. Absolutely wonderful job.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going on to image number 18. Well, this is in the same vein. This is we're looking at Keanu Reeves plus Jared Leto equals Alice's dad.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And also continuing along that theme, there's an image here, number 19, which is that reunion with the dad and the mom, and an image of Bumby imminently being run over by a train. What's the story? Is this just more of the same?
It more continues along the same scene, and it kind of is just showing that the mother understood what the child has been through and what the shadow has been through as well. It's just all linking the pieces together is what this artwork captures. But the design Bible, along with the text, I think would communicate it better than what I could right now on the screen.
Awesome. And we're looking at, I think this is the last image. Oh no, it's not.
We got three more.
Three more to go. So 20 is a boss battle.
Are these all spoiler things now?
Yeah, spoiler things for sure.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So what's going on image number 20, the boss battle here?
This is within the heart of the shadow, and it's Guilt Manifest. We've kind of just positioned a really gnarly end game style boss combat encounter here. The original concept up in the top left is the one that I created. Then Adam and Omri have taken the next pass into kind of creating the finished art there, and it's just really designed. This is the game probably at its darkest and scariest at this point. And there's a lot of symbolism. The faces of Lizzie, Alice, and Bumby kind of revolve around this creature, and it's vicious. Like this is meant to be a very vicious, difficult encounter.
Awesome,
but it looks cool. Yeah, it's come together really well. Adam's done a great job.
It's really beautiful. So we're now looking at number 21. This is the Mad Hatter handing the ice wand to Alice.
Yep, that's exactly right. And this comes at a point with new weaponry, and when the ice wand is kind of rewarded to Alice. This is a good chance to kind of explain each weapon has alt fire modes as well. So we've kind of built on the original where it's more strategic and freezes as intended in the first game, but we've also wanted room for like a long range sniper or a precision like kind of bolt weapon. And up in the top right you can kind of see how the wand kind of morphs and turns into the bow, and that is what this weapon is, the concept outline for Asylum. I think that's a pretty cool one.
All right,
cool. And number 22, this is just a little overview of the Design Bible, the front page.
It is. And I think this kind of blends in, and also the next slide, where what we've been doing in the Design Bible is really communicating the narrative beats. And, you know, you and I sat down and we wrote this script and the narrative outline, and that's kind of been guiding all of the work for how we present the content in the Design Bible. But coming up next, in the last slide, is really kind of focusing on the game design and the game data and the spreadsheets that we're creating in collaboration with our potential development partners. And that is more kind of underlining that this is what's going to be steering our work moving forward, which is, yeah, really the game design on paper as well, and making sure that that is viable from a technical standpoint if ever we boot up an engine with the right team. And that's how we're gearing it moving forward. Yeah.
Awesome. And that does bring us to the last slide.
That's it.
And, you know, so I'll just tell you, Alex, we are here with you alone. The stream online has died, and it's just us. But we are recording still, and this will get uploaded to YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and go. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and finish out now. Again, I just want to say, you know, everything that you saw that we presented today, that's all made possible by our Insane Children over on Patreon. And we will continue to share updates and new art and design stuff as we go into 2023. And we take these materials out to show to potential publishers and financiers. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, we're even going over to meet with our potential development partner here in Shanghai later today. So we are making progress towards the next step. And if you want to keep up to date on all of that stuff, you can follow me on a variety of social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can also go over to Patreon. All the Patreon stuff is posted up for free, but if you do decide that you want to support what we're doing, you can do that for as little as $1 a month.
Wow. We have some awesome stuff if you want to do more than $1 a month.
That's true. You want to do more, you can.
Yep.
So I think that's about it. Anything else you guys want to add before we sign off here?
I'll just thank everyone for their support and ongoing support for what we do. And I think we're just going to keep... there is always work to be done on this, and we love it. And we'll just continue riding this path to see where it goes together. And we're always open to chat and share where we're going. And it's exciting. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next year. So thanks again to everyone for their support.
Cool. Yeah. And this worked really well. I think let's do this again, Alex. I enjoy having you here. You can talk, and I can just push the mouse around. It's awesome. Really
That's cool, man. Look, I'm happy to come on anytime you guys want to have me, and it's relevant and it's good. Then let's do it.
But now we know it works, except for the part where we stream out to the rest of the world. But hey, we're all here. We can record this, and then we can upload it, and it's great.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Thank you, everybody who was with us today, and also who watched to the end of this thing we're going to upload to YouTube. So, jib it up. Bye-bye.
Awesome, guys. Catch up. Bye.
Bye.